Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We have an exciting topic to discuss today, one which a lot of people have been inquiring about. Today, we'll be discussing and demonstrating how to use civil site design within the Autodesk Docs Cloud Common Data environment. This platform is being widely adopted throughout the AEC industry. And many of you have been asking questions of the compatibility of the platform with your civil site design models. So hopefully you get some answers to your questions through our presentation today. Um, I will just move on to a little bit of housekeeping when it shows up. There we go. So before we get started on the actual demonstration, all attendees today will be remaining muted for the duration of the webinar. However, we do certainly encourage questions as we go. So please just use the Q&A box on the bottom of your screens to submit these questions. We'll get these questions answered live in real time or during the designated question session at the end of the demonstration. We are also recording this session, and the recording will be made available in the next couple of days. Just to cover off the agenda for today, we'll start off by summarizing what is Autodesk Docs as well as civil site design. We'll then be discussing what needs to be done to enable these platforms to work together and the benefits of doing so, including enhancing your workflows, enabling collaboration and data sharing, protecting your data, providing accurate version control, and much more. We will show you a detailed demonstration of civil site design and how these models are managed within Autodesk Docs and some of the great features you will have access to by doing so. We'll then walk you through a live demonstration of a review approval workflow within Autodesk Docs. And then, as I said, we'll be finishing off with some question time at the end. So we're just going to start off with a very quick survey. It's just a couple of questions. We do so just to get a bit better understanding of who we have in the audience today. That will just enable us to tailor a few things based on who we have listening in today. So I've just activated a survey, and I'll just give everybody maybe just 30 seconds or so just to answer those couple of questions or three questions. Okay, plenty of answers coming through. Thank you, everybody, for that. I'll just give maybe just another 10 or so seconds for everybody just to submit their answers there. Okay, I'll close it up in a couple of seconds, everybody. So if you're still going, if you just want to quickly pop that through, I'll be closing that now. Okay, thank you everybody for those answers there. Okay, on to our speakers for the day. So my name is Ben Hipsley. I am the Autodesk Business Manager at Civil Survey Solutions. I have around 12 years experience in the industry, working with firms such as Opus Consultants, SMEC and WSP. I'll be hosting us today and also assisting our speakers demonstrating some of the collaborative workflows that we'll be working through today. We are lucky enough to have what I call the A-team demonstrating for you today. We have Shane O'Rourke. He is our technical services manager. He comes with decades of experience in the industry. And as many of you know, he is the mastermind behind civil site design. We also have Magnolia Garcia. She's a solutions engineer from Autodesk. She has a long history working with Esri, AECOM, and also Autodesk. And she will also be leading off for us today. So I'll hand across to Maggie now. And Maggie, I'll let you share your screen if I turn mine off. There we go.
Thank you so much, Ben. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And as Ben mentioned, we'll start with a bit of an overview of Autodesk Construction Cloud with a particular focus on Autodesk Docs. So we'll try and, shed some light as to the existing tools and technologies that are available to yourself, perhaps as part of your existing license entitlement. And then afterwards, I'll pass it on to our main event, Shane, who will do most of the heavy lifting today. And, we'll see these concepts in action, right? Via a live demo. He'll run us through, how we can use ACC in combination with CSD to establish more of an efficient workflow for our civil engineering projects. But before we do that, I just want to provide some context to the importance of our discussion today, right? If we take a closer look at data continuity on a traditional engineering project delivery process, right, you'll notice the disconnect that happens, particularly as you progress from one stage to the next. And this is something that we see all the time, right? As data gets handed over from one team to the next, suddenly a long list of data management issues and dramas start coming out. We see people, waste time on searching for the right information, engineers using outdated versions of files, or sometimes, teams unable to consume file formats that was provided to them by their consultants and contractors. But ideally, what you'd want to have is a framework that will maintain the integrity of your data, right? And in the industry, this is what we call as digital thread. You may have heard of that term before. And this is what would allow you to have a truly connected workflow from design to build all the way to operations and maintenance. And simply, right, what this just means is that the information that you manage to accumulate during perhaps the design stage of your project, you can then use that to better operate your infrastructure, your asset. And down the track, if there's a need to renew that asset, that initial model can potentially inform the renovation or its replacement. So it is, a continuous cycle. Now, in terms of how you can leverage technology to assist you in this, an important aspect that you should be looking at is the establishment of what you call a common data environment, a CDE, right? And an example of that is Autodesk Construction Cloud. And you'll see in terms of capabilities, it can do everything from, your design collaboration to coordination, all the way to project closeout. And it's quite modularized in that sense, that you can add on depending on your role, your functionality requirements. You've got takeoff in there that you can use for scope analysis, quantity estimations. If you've got any major projects division in your team, in your organization, there are some tools in there that they can use for, construction management, like cost, quality, safety management. But you'll notice here at the bottom is where we've got Autodesk Docs, which is the backbone that empowers document management across these various modules, right? So that is the base license, the base functionality that you would require there. And in this session, as Ben mentioned, we'll keep our focus on docs, but we'll also slightly touch on BIM Collaborate Pro in here for design collaboration and coordination. Now, you'll hear BIM Collaborate Pro docs thrown around this session. So let's just define it just so we're all on the same page, right? And this is a very common question that we get. And here at Autodesk, we love confusing people with obscure naming conventions. So with BIM Collaborate, you will get the base functionalities of Autodesk Docs for document management, but you'll also get additional features, right? As you can see here, you've got design collaboration and model coordination added on top of it. Whereas with BIM Collaborate Pro, you'll get all these features of BIM Collaborate in addition to cloud data authoring functionality, right? So what that means is that you'll get the ability to do cloud collaboration for your AutoCAD-based tools such as Civil 3D, Plan 3D, and as well as Revit cloud work sharing. So the use of CDE is, already common practice in Australian organizations. But recently you may have heard that we have launched an Australia Data Center for ACC. It's based in Sydney. So we're actually seeing a wider acceptance of this, particularly in the local government sector, especially those who requires data sovereignty, right? Now, as a government agency, an asset owner, I want to stress the importance of you owning your organization's digital thread. Uh, some people on this call will probably hate me for saying this, but you don't really want to be at the mercy of your consultants or your contractors as you ask for a copy of your own data, right? And they charge you for it. You don't, what you'd want to have is the framework. You'd want to own that framework where everyone connects to and works from. You'd want to be able to control where your project data resides, who can work on it, what level of access they get, and so on. What a CDE will allow you to have is, a unified data location. You'd want to have this one platform, where you can host all information about your project, be it your models, your photos, your videos on site, cost items, and so on and so forth in this one location. And ultimately, having a CDE will allow you to democratize your project data. Just make it easier for the relevant stakeholders to access any information that they're looking for, right? Point cloud dataset. This is a great example of that. Because for those of you who haven't dealt with this file type before, this file format, it's very useful, but it can get, very storage, very processing intensive. But with ACC, what you can actually do is expose this information via a web browser, right? So people can easily find them, open them up, review what it contains, and then consume that information from anywhere, really, via a laptop, via an iPad, without the requirement of having any software installed on your machine. And because ACC offers unlimited storage, what we find is a lot of organizations tend to push these heavy data sets off of their servers just so they can free up some space. And also what's good about ACC is it provides you with a secure location to consolidate your project data. You can control who can access what. It provides you with that granularity, right? Providing permissions to different personas, different roles, or even companies, and control their level of access in there, what they can do within your environment. This also comes with a full version control feature and keeps track of every save that you do on your documents in there. And this is another good one, right? Because it is very common for organizations to have multiple versions of the same files in their servers just so they can archive their data's progression, right? So you can actually get away with that just by having, a proper system in place, such as ACC. You can even perform, version comparison in there. You can see what's been changed, added, deleted. And at any point that you need to revert back to a previous version, you can always do that. And also, it is important to note that this will support you in the implementation of perhaps an ISO 19650 document management standards, if that's something that you'd want to do, right? So what that just means is that you'd be able to standardize your file naming conventions and make sure that it complies to the standards essentially, right? So I actually have a funny story about this because we recently had a major client implement this, and they were just telling us how many files on their system they found named as picture one, document one, right? And of course, having this sort of framework in place will ensure that people are forced to provide a more meaningful naming convention to the files that they put in there, just so that you can easily find it and retrieve them down the track. So a few other cool things that you can do there, you can do design markups, right? So instead of physically printing out drawings, you can use ACC and do those digitally nowadays, right? And as you're doing your design reviews and you see any issues in there that needs addressed, you can easily call that out, assign it to a person. And what would happen then is that person will receive an email, a link to the issue that you have created, and they can start working off from there, right? So I assume this is what Shane will show you later as well as we progress with the demonstration. And also, as mentioned previously, right, if you've got an ABC Pro license, this will provide you the ability to perform cloud data authoring. So as you can see here, if you're navigating your ACC project in there, you can easily save your file. You'll see a lock sign if someone is working on that project, right? And it's like a check-in, check-out process, really. As someone else releases it, you can then use it and edit that for yourself. And as you work on these drawing files, a common workflow would be to attach, external references to it, overlay that in your designs. And, this whole process will remain relatively the same despite moving your data set to the cloud. The only difference would be you would now be pointing to ACC instead of a local location. And that would just ensure that you get away with not having any broken references in here as you're working on your projects. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about here before I pass it on to Shane is clash detection, right? So this is another functionality that you can do within ACC. So as you set your model coordination space in there, you can essentially detect any clashes of the files that you add in these coordination spaces, right? And these can include not just drawing files really, but you can even include Revit files, IFCs, Navisworks files, and so on and so forth. And this is how that would look like. So as you can see, it's a very visual environment, and it clearly highlights where constructability issues may arise. And then from here, what you can do is you can review that clash. You can mark it as an issue or a non-issue, similar to this curb and inlet that you were showing a while ago. If it's actually an issue with perhaps this post and drainage pipe, right? You can flag that and go through the issues workflow that we were looking at a while ago, and then go on from there, right? So that would be the workflow that you would have there. All right, so with that, what we'll do is we'll pass it over to Shane to continue the discussions from there. Over to you, Shane.
Thank you very much, Maggie. So I will take screen. Just give me one moment. Okay, hopefully everybody can see my screen okay. I do have a new computer. It has different resolutions, so let me know if it's bad and I'll flick it out. Thank you for that great explanation overview of ACC. And what I'm going to do is do the push and the shove. We'll put some data in and do some turnkey, have a bit of a look at how it works. So just to set the scene about the construction cloud, it takes a wide array of file formats and as Maggie sort of explained, handles version control and all sorts of things. Now, in terms of civil site design, I guess what I want to just explain about civil site design is that when civil site design is operating, it is operating through an external data folder. And basically that data folder provides a transaction to itself and then feeds back into the drawing. So there's a cycle to that data folder. And by default, the drawing and the data folder live together in the same spot. So what can happen out of that is that if you are running through a network or you're running through a cloud solution like the construction cloud, what happens is you've got lots of transactions happening through that cloud transaction, and that can A, slow things down, and B, you also have some files in the Autodesk Docs common data environment that civil site design create that Autodesk Docs doesn't accept. So the solution is to look at storing your data outside of your cloud environment. So firstly, what you can do is opt to have the data folder stored locally. And there's just a click button. It'll go into your temp folder where you have ready access. And that's your transactional area where you're doing your work. You can also enable what we call packing, where what you do is you basically have the data embedded in the drawing every time you save. So if you think about that graphic, what's happening is when you hit a save, the software embeds the data inside the drawing and then moves that off to wherever you're saving it to. This provides a number of benefits. So firstly, you don't get latency across the network if you're running the data locally. That drawing contains everything. So you can do a save as, move it, push it wherever you want, make copies of it, and the data will be there. It is certainly perfect for cloud storage, and as you'll see, the construction cloud manages all the backups and version control. So every time you save a drawing, you're actually saving the data with that drawing. Now, I do have a blow-by-blow account on how it all runs, and you'll see that there's a QR code there just to, if you want to hit that up, it'll take you to a document about pack data if you've never done it before. In summary, what we're going to do is to open up a project. We're going to look at Docs, and we're going to put the project inside Docs. It's dead simple. And then what we're going to do is well, before that, actually, we're a bit out of order. We're going to enable pack mode in civil site design so that when we do push to Docs, we're just pushing one single file. I'll also do some production outputs in civil site design, just really to summarize this project. And then I will give myself the thumbs up, implying that I'm amazing, and I'll put it up for review and see how I go. So that's sort of our process for today. Ben is acting as my manager, so he will provide a review, and Maggie is acting as, I guess, the overall project manager, and she will be ultimately doing a review and approving or providing issues and feedback, or refusing or rejecting my proposal. So without further ado, let's have a bit of a look at the Civil 3D and Civil Site Design. So I do have a project here, and it is set up, and I've done some design in here. I'll quickly have a chat about. Just in summary, I have a road reconstruction road happening here with some on-street parking, and I've also provided a car parking area. So this project revolves around, it's called New Hotel, but it's going to be an aged care centre. So there's currently an aged care centre in here in Mollymook, in New South Wales, and the plan is to update that centre. And as part of that update, we need to provide obviously a building space and then additional parking. So I'll come back to that project in a moment. If you're going to work over a network through any cloud service, including Docs and the construction cloud, what you need to do is to come in or what you should do is come in and review your data pack settings. Now, this is also in the menu where you can pack your data. And you can do this to your drawing template. So if you wanted to set up your drawing template so that you automatically pack your data, you could also do that. So this form basically says, let's not worry about messaging. Let's store the data in the temp folder location. So this will be a folder location accessible to you, your private sort of editing area. And what happens is the software will then push data into this particular folder. And if you ever want to look at where your data lives, you can come into this form, and if you click on this piece of text, it will open up to your folder location, okay, and you can see your data. One of the other things that we do is every time you open the drawing or close and then reopen the drawing, we will create another version of the folder. So every time you're opening the drawing, you're basically getting another version happening in your temp folder. You can also pick a folder for transaction of the data. And you'll see here that what you do need to do is to turn on pack mode. Once that's done, where the drawing lives, you won't have a data folder there. The data will sit in that temp folder, and your data transactions with civil site design will be very fast and very rapid. You can enable it any time. You can turn it off at any time through the data pack settings. Okay, so just a little bit about this design. I'm not going to belabor too much about what civil site design does or how it works. But I'll just sort of give you an overview of this project. So I'm starting with model viewer. It's probably the most visual way to see what's going on. So what I actually did with this project is I created an alignment here for an existing road. So you see underpinning this will be an alignment hiding under here. And I created obviously centerline alignment, left and right alignments for this street here called Islet Street. And the intention with working with Islet Street was to reconstruct that road. So when I open up the cross-section viewer of this particular string, I can see I've got in here, I'm still in a cut zone, but as I sort of roll along my cross-sections, you'll see that my goal was, roll through fast enough. You'll see as I sort of get around 60 that I'm hitting my sort of road reconstruction idea, okay, where I really want to not do full depth pavement, just sort of tap out and do an asphalt overlay. Now you'll see as well that there are design constraints, very typical sort of requirements. So if I right click here and open up the vertical design window and I zoom in, you'll see that there are design constraints in play. And those design constraints are helping me make sure that as I design, I'm getting crossfalls that are commensurate with the maximums and minimums that I need. What I probably should do is to muck around with the crossfall of this, but I obviously won't do that now because it's not the frame of the session. But this is sort of the background of the design. As you do know, you can hit up any particular string and get out a volume report. And you can obviously export that out to file. Now, if I do export out to file, I can throw it into Docs as an additional file. So I might just do that. I'll just throw that out to my desktop. So this is where my drawing currently lives. It's currently sitting in this folder called ABC Council Project. So this is my personal folder. I haven't put it in Docs yet. And that will be my next step. So I've output an Excel file, which is useful for me to be part of my reporting. So this is built around a model. If I wanted to play around with this, I could obviously navigate to any particular string and edit from here. If we have a look at the tree, the tool space, we've got roads that we can review. We've got curb returns that we can obviously get to and edit. And then we've also got a number of strings. So the car park island is this beast here. Then we've got the outside perimeter of the car park. Now, interesting with the car park, you'll see that it grades nicely down to this back corner. Basically what I did was I gathered the elevations off the edge of the road. So if I grab this grading string here called parking grading, grab one of these guys sitting right here somewhere. Here's a grading. Building pad, yes. Okay, so that's the building pad, parking grading. So if I just show you this, what I did was I set up my parking layout here against the edge of the road, and I just matched the edge of the road elevations and then set the grade that I wanted for the car park longitudinally. When you look at the cross section, you'll see that I've very craftily put in a cross section that spans across the car park face. That builds a surface, and all I needed to do was to drape my car park onto that surface, and I've got the grading that I wanted. Anyway, all that mystery aside, the last thing that builds the model is Model Builder, and all I've done here is included the elements that I wanted to include, and then excluded elements that I didn't want as part of the model, which is traditional approach to design. So anyway, that's the design as it is. You can also build subgrade models. I'll do a little bit of production output, but the first thing I'll do is put this into Docs. So just to give you an idea about the interfaces to access Docs, obviously there's a web browser and you can build as many projects as you like. For each project, you can set who has access to particular folders and locations. This is fairly open to everybody in the organization here at Civil Survey Solutions and also Meki. But you'll see that there's a series of folders. For each folder, obviously you can park anything you want in here, and a number of the files can be opened up directly in this viewer. So you don't need the authoring software to go and review Revit files, drawing files and the like. I do have some extra files I'd like to put in here, so I'm going to put them in. Now, there's a couple of ways to add to this. So firstly, what I just want to make well known is that in this window here, we can drag and drop. So I could grab these images that form part of my XREFs, and I could preemptively stick them in and add them into this the docs area, right? So I can just go and grab any file that I want and go and stick it in here using drag and drop to this interface. Now, for those of you who don't want to open up the web browser, you'll also see when you install and put this in that you will have access to the same folder structure directly in Explorer. So I can just copy this file, go to the civil folder, and drop it in. I can see those aerial photos are now uploaded, and it will then upload the project summary. So you've got a number of ways to, I guess, input files and access the system. Every time you drop a file in over the top, you will get version control. So you see these are all V1. So what I'm going to do is to drop in my drawing. It's very simple, and you can start obviously in Docs. I just do a save as. And I'll just put myself in the layout tab, which is my personal preference here. So I'm going to go save as, and I'll just put this into Docs. So you see here, again, you'll have a folder for Docs, and then we can hop into that project, hop into the folder that we want, and we can drop it in there. Every time I save, I will get a new version in Docs, and I can roll back to a previous version if I need. Okay, so you've got your version history sitting there. Okay, so that is saved. I will open up Docs in a minute. We'll see that in there. Okay, but what I'll do in the interim is, I guess, get this ready for review. So I want to do just some quick documentation in here. So firstly, what I'm going to do is just publish out to Civil 3D the surface here, and then I'll label that surface up. So I'm just going to publish that up. I will just let you know just on the side here that it is currently loading that drawing file. So in the next couple of moments, it'll be in there for others to consume. So I'm just going to publish out Civil 3D drawing. I will quickly turn off the display of the model that I have right now because Civil 3D is going to do that display. Okay, I'll just quickly change the style of this. I should have changed this already in the drawing. My apologies. A bit more obvious what's going on. Okay, so I'm in I guess, a documentation phase to describe to Ben how this design works. So one of the key things that will be of interest are slopes. So I'm just going to document some slope labels on here. I'm highlighting an area that is probably going to be critiqued, which is how steep that is. I've got some slopes here around the car park, which is all good. Obviously, you could do a set out here based on spot elevation labels. That would work fine. But I'm just slapping around, picking spots where I need public access, pedestrian access around the site, so that Ben has a reasonable opportunity to do some assessment here just by looking at the plan. So I've dropped in a surface. I've gone and put some labels on that. I can publish out long sections and cross sections. So I'm just going to publish out a long section here. So again, we already sort of know our way around here about setting up for long section plotting. I'm going to create them as layouts in the drawing. Obviously, I could plot them to file and then put them into docs, but I'm just going to publish them as layouts in the drawing. And I will do the same for cross-section plotting. Now, the one thing to know is that what Doc sees is based on your page setup, right? So you need to have them set up so that they can view. Obviously, A4 is not great, so I will fix this one up. Probably can do it globally, can't I, if I was smart? Anyway, I'll just fix a couple of them up. I'll just go and modify this. Okay, so I'll ask Ben only to review this one because I haven't set myself up. I should have set up my base better, but this will get us out of jail. Okay, so profile 2, Ben, when the time comes. Don't look at the others. Close your eyes. So I've produced some long sections and cross sections. I can obviously drop out set out and all those sorts of things. So if I just quickly run a set out, and I guess I'm just trying to simulate the sorts of things that you would go through in a production plan sense. So I've got my set out here, and it's not really set up, so I'll quickly just decide what I want to set out. I'm going to do the outside parking. I'll do the building pad, turn the rest off. And for the ones that are on, I'll just set them very quickly to do a set out every 10 meters. That's good. Whoops, I just turned everything on, didn't I? Crazy man I am. Let me just fix it up again. Path. Car park island, car park outside, okay. Street parking. Yep, yep, yep. Let's turn the rest off. Turn that off. Okay, let's go and create some set out. So I'm creating just Kogo points in the drawing, and obviously I can create tables at the same time. I'm just going to pop these tables over here. So this is my tabular set out. And then I'm popping out a number of Kogo points. Okay, so I'm happy with this. I think this is a great plan. I'm ready to share it with Ben and get his critique. Probably went a little bit overzealous on these points, but let's not worry about that. Okay, so I save the drawing. Basically, I'm parking out version 2 right now. Okay, so if I go back to my docs and I have a look at civil, I can see that there's a mark on here. All right, so I will get version 2 and I can go back to look at other versions if I need, right? So I can come back and look at version 1 or earlier versions. So this is doing a version 3 now. So I'll just wait for that to come through. So what I can do is to send this to Ben for review, okay? And then Ben can give me his feedback on it, and we basically move forward into whether I'm cool or whether I'm not cool, to put it simply. So any of these drawings you can put into a transmittal or package up. You can download them and copy them about. And you can, if I go to version 2, I can make that the current version. So it's about going backwards in time. What I'm going to do is just go into because that's got a funny message on it. I'll just go into this drawing here that doesn't have a funny message on it. I'm going to send this one out to Ben for review. So when I go to my drawing and it's all uploaded, I can see I've got a whole bunch of things I can do. And one of them is to submit for review. So I'm looking for approval, and I'm looking for a two-step approval. And you can set up your own approval process. So if you think about this, I'm asking for approval from the senior civil engineer who can send it back to me. And once they approve, then the project manager, which is Maggie, can send it back to me, and we can continue that cycle until it's approved. So, and you can obviously set up your own. So I'm going to do this as a final design revision 1. Yeah, I'll call it that. You can also park in more files, obviously. So I could park in a whole collection of files for Ben and Maggie to review and critique. And I can also add some notes. This is cool. Ready to go. And then I submit. Okay, so I can also provide personal messages to Ben. And I can also advise Maggie at the same time. So having done that, I'm just about ready to hand over to Ben, but what I've done is created a review. So up here in reviews, you'll see my reviews in here. Ben can now take over, look at that review, and then give me some feedback. So Ben, I'll hand over to you.
Great, thank you, Shane. Let me just jump in and share my screen. I'll just make sure I get the right one there. There we go. Just to note as well, the reason a little funny marker was up against that file Shane was working on, in trying to demonstrate the entire workflow, there were the XREFs I don't think were pathed correctly. Usually you do them all as a group, but Shane in his wisdom trying to show the full workflow, doing them separately meant that those parts got disconnected. So that's the reason for that one. But look, there are some other tools. There's a data migration tool, and there's also a reference explorer that can be used to fix those things up, which, look, we're running a bit short on time, so I might not do them now. But look, we can certainly guide everybody through that process. Okay, so look, as you can see, this is now my ACC environment. You can see that Shane's review has already appeared here. So as of 142, I will also show you that it also comes through on email. So everybody gets an email notification. So you can see there Shane's comments and all the details. And you can click through to directly into the ACC environment from those emails as well. So you can see that that all happens in real time. So I can now open up this review. So I can, if I look at the interface here, I can see the overall status of the review. So I can see that it is a two-step review, and I can see all the files that are part of that review, and I can see my progress and activity logs over here as well. So I get a very clear picture of everything that's happening as part of this review. Of course, I can open up the file. And as Shane was doing, you can open up that directly within the ACC environment. It doesn't have to be through the authoring program. Okay, so you can see here the file or the model that Shane has sent me to review. So you can see here the different views that you can look at. So you can look at your layout views. You can look at a 3D model. I typically, for these things, just like to look at a 2D view. You did see a bit earlier the building, and so obviously that would be better in a 3D view. But for this purpose, I'll just look at it in 2D. We can turn on and off different layers, different viewports, have a look at list of markups, look at your list of issues over here, and this is the creation bar over here. So all your markup tools are here. So you've got pencil drawings, you've got text boxes, callouts, clouds, all these different options. You can also take measurements directly within the 2D view as well, and then you've got a quick access toolbar down the bottom here. As well. So I'm going to zoom in. Look, I can see right off the bat here that we have a very steep slope here between the road and the car park. Look, I'd like to see that slope softened a little bit. So what I'm going to do is create an issue. You can, or you do, assign issues as types. And so look, you can create as many types or customize types as you like, all with different attributes. For now, I'm just going to make this a design issue. I'll click where that issue is. And I'm going to just update this. So I'll say the embankment, too steep, raise car park level 0.5 meters. Okay, so it's an open status. Look, I'm going to assign this across to Shane. I could, if I like to, assign it to a team assigned as a role, or potentially to a whole company if there's maybe an external designer or consultant that is doing this. Okay, I am going to look through the rest of my attributes. Due date, I'm going to make that today, simply because I want this package out as soon as possible. Root cause, I'm going to add a root cause. You don't have to, but I'm going to add a root cause. I'm going to call it a design flaw. The good thing there is you can keep track of your root causes for future improvement. So if you're having plenty of design flaws, for example, then you know that's something that you can work on with your team. Attachments, you can attach any other files that you like from externally outside of the ACC environment, or you can reference anything that's within the ACC environment. So any other issues, photos, files, correspondence that's within the ACC environment, you can reference them here to attach them to the issue. You can add any comments down the bottom as well, and as you can see, you can use the @ symbol to call out anyone else in your team. Okay, so look, that's already been published. That all saves in real time. So I can close out of that for now. What this would have done is notified Shane that there's an issue in his design. He'll be getting that through his ACC environment itself, plus an email, as you've seen. And so what I'm going to do now is pop back into my review screen, and I'm just going to send the review back to Shane, which is just another way of letting him know that the works or the action items are back on him before he can then push the review back to me. So I'll close out of this, jump back into my review screen, and show you how to send that review back to Shane. And what I'm now doing is, because I've created an issue, I can create an additional comment there if I like, but what I'm going to do is send that back to Shane so that he can change that issue. So I will just say refer to design issue as my comment, and I'm going to send that back to Shane. So again, this is all within the ACC environment. Again, I can send a direct email notification to Shane as well as any other project members, adding in any messages as well. So I'm going to send that off to Shane, and now that is going back to him. So I'll let Shane jump back on, and see how that looks from his side.
Thank you, Ben. So I'm just looking at my emails and I can see I have revisions sent back to me, so I can review that. There was also the issue raised email, and you can go directly to the problem, right? So I have to go and fight and find what Ben's asked for or what the feedback is. So here's the note. Embankment's too steep, raise the car park. So I should do something about that, and then I can reply. So just very quickly, I'll flick over and do something around that. So what I'm going to do with this job is just fix up the car park and raise it up. And because we have a dynamic model, we will see that happen, and then I just push it to Civil 3D. So to do that, I'm just going to grab the outside edge of the car park, just very quickly. So because we've got a downhill steepness that's too much, I'm going to raise this by ½ meter and see where we end up. Okay, so I'm sort of going to do it just really quickly. I normally do a few more checks and balances, but I'm just going to say, look, I go into the edit over range. I'm going to say between change 20 and change 280. Let's just raise everything by ½ meter. So once I hit apply here, you'll see I've got a 2.39% grade and a 1.1% grade. That all sounds fair and reasonable. I can live with that. If I want to just quickly check what's going on with the slopes, one neat way to do that, just as a click and check, is you come and make a label onto the design surface, and obviously you can make as many labels as you like, but when you create that label inside this form, there's a button called Move Label. And what I do with that is I just sort of knock it around the place. So I'm just moving that label around to just quickly review different spots to see how steep things are. And look, we're better off than we were, 1 in 4, 1 in 3. So I'm sort of thinking this is a good improvement. I also need to think about the building pad because there's obviously a introduced grade change here. So I'm just very quickly going to go to the vertical grading editor for the building pad, and I'm just going to lift that by an amount. So I'm just going to go raise lower. Let's lift it by 25 centimeters, and let's have a look. So doing that lift obviously does change the grade, and I can see that the contours are pretty neat and fair and reasonable. So I'm going to push that out to Civil 3D. So I just run output Civil 3D surfaces to update the Civil 3D surface to match my current design. So I can review those slopes. They all look good to me. I save this drawing, and again, this will create a new version, right? New version for Ben, right? So I'm just going to save that out. So that will go ahead and update. And while that's happening, I'm going to go and do my paperwork. So I'm going to close this issue out. I'm going to add some comments here. Raised car park by 0.5 meters to reduce crossfall to less than 25%. I might have told a slight lie there, but that's okay. So that will go back. If I jump into reviews and I go and find that review, what I will do in here, I probably should change the issue status depending rather than closing it off. But I'm going to submit that back for review. So raised car park. Yep, open, waiting for any shader. I've done my part. No, I didn't. I shouldn't do that. Okay, it's back with Ben.
Great. Thank you, Shane. I'm just grabbing my screen. That should be the right one there. So look, I could already see what you missed while I was trying to share the right screen is that my screen popped across from that review being as in the initiation phase across to the initial review. It's worth mentioning that we've everything on this screen is customizable. So even the names of these reviews, initial review, final review, who it goes to, how many steps there are in each review, whether there's multiple reviewers in each review step, that can all be customizable. You can build as many different review pathways as you like. You're not just stuck to a single review pathway. But look, for the purpose of this demonstration, look, I can see that if I start my review, I can see that that file is still in there. So look, what I can do is open up that file, and the comparison tool that we've already seen, I could go and compare that file or that model, that drawing against the previous one to make sure that all of my issues have been closed out and I'm happy with it all. Okay, so here we are looking at the model that Shane has updated. So I can see here that he has closed out that issue. It's grayed out. You would have seen earlier it is orange when it is still open. But we can click on that design issue and see there that it is closed. We can also go into the activity log. So Shane has added a comment that he's raised the car park and the building pad to provide better slopes and some additional information as well. And we can see all the rest of it there. So look, on the face of it, I'm pretty happy that that design issue is closed, but of course I want to go a step further and actually make sure that that my issue intent has been realized. So what I can do is I can click on to our compare option. I can select the version of the model that I want to compare to. If I click on compare, what it will do is it will load up and it will overlay one model against the other. So we can see here the main changes that have been made is in here in terms of the batter slopes. In terms of the labeling, if we had FFLs and things labeled, you'd obviously be able to see it there too. But otherwise, the main issues was the batter slopes, and we can see here how they have changed. And then you can obviously turn on or off any overlays as well to be able to see things a bit clearer. And Interestingly, we can see some of the slopes have slightly changed direction as well. So I could probably have to go back and review the drainage, but for the purposes of this webinar, that's a really great overlay comparison tool that you can use there as well. I'm going to submit that review. And I can add some notes into the next reviewer stage, which is Maggie. I will just say here, happy with design. Please approve final review. And I will submit that across to Maggie. And so, look, while that's going, again, as always, there's a nice email that comes up. Look, I'm just going to add Shane into this just because it's good for him to know that his project has made the next stage. And I'm going to send that through. And so, look, while that is heading across to Maggie, I'll also let you know that as part of this review process, what we've done is we've added in an automation at the end that as soon as this review gets approved, that file gets pushed into a new folder within our ACC environment. So we have a folder, I'll pull it up here. It's called published here. So what you'll see is that once Maggie approves that file, that review, that file will suddenly push into the published folder. We can already see that there's a few in there. So Maggie, can I just confirm that you have received that final review? You've already seen the emails come through and you've seen the screens. So Maggie, can you just verbally let us know that you've received that file and approved the review?
Yes, that email just hit my inbox and I have just currently hit approved on that, so you should receive that shortly.
Great. Thank you, Maggie. So this is this final part of the workflow that we built into this review. As I've said, it's all completely customizable. You can see all the fields here. You can see how it was approved. As you can see, we've done one before where it was approved, but there were some comments that went across with the approval. So there is a lot of customization or customized options that you can have there. All right, so that should be coming through any second now. What you'll also see is as part of this published folder, as we've said, there are some additional documentation that you can include here. This transmittal form is a standard transmittal. And so this is a standard template that comes through for all transmittals. So that's great for document control. And making sure that everybody's working on the same versions. I know everybody, or transmittals are often things that go missed when you have to do them manually, but it's great that these all come through directly when you do a transmittal. Okay, so as you can see, everything's pushed into the published folder now. So that concludes that review period. And if you can see here, that has come through here. And if we look at the final review, so we did 2 rounds of the review. It came through Shane as the initiator. Next action is due by Maggie. We're halfway through the progress, so it doesn't actually look like that approval's pushed through yet. Maggie?
Yeah, it's just saying that you have the file open. But
oh, okay. That's a good point. Sorry, that's something we should acknowledge. So Shane obviously has that file still open. So yeah, nothing can be approved or closed out while the file is open, at least at that version. If Shane just does another save as well and push it to the next version, then that will allow that to move forward.
Let me fix my faux pas.
Not a problem. Okay, so look, I'll just let Shane quickly finish that off. Or Shane and Maggie finish that off. While we're doing that, look, I'll just quickly show you into our review approval. So as we've said, we have set up a 2-step review process. As I said, you can change the name of each review step. You can add multiple people in each step. That can be either people through or direct users through different roles or through different companies as well. So if there's an external approving agency, you could send it directly to them. And as we can see here, once the approval happens, the copy approved files across into the published folder. So that's what we have there. So there's great functionality within that approval process. As you can see, we have 2 reviews set up, but you can quite easily create additional approvals. As you can see, there's base templates you work off as well to be able to build those approval processes. So it's very user-friendly. Maggie, have you been able to?
Close now. Yes.
There we go. Yep, just as I was asking. There we go. So she's closed that review. So look, I'd like to thank everybody for their attendance this afternoon, particularly Shane and Maggie for joining us here today and passing on their wisdom. I hope everybody has a great rest of the day.